We're back with um, cooking companions. Yeah, I was going to guess that. So, what's on the menu tonight, Chef? Bread and jam. Crush the berries in your small mortar and pestle, spreading it on some crusty bread. You cooked raspberry jam and bread. Bread's a little tough. Gregor, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, but this homemade jam is to die for. Haha, sorry. No, you're right, Gregor. This bread stinks. Mariah, everybody laughs. You're not sure this could be called a meal, but it got the job done. Everyone thanks you for dinner and heads off to sleep. You go to bed wishing you had more. You have a strange dream. Something is riding on your back, and it's becoming a nuisance. You try to see it in the mirror, but you can't get a good look at it. You try almost everything, but it won't get off. The pain between your shoulder blades is getting worse by the minute. You wander away from the cabin, stumbling by a river to soak your pain in cool water. You didn't want things to come to this, but you've exhausted all other options. You swim out to the middle. Rocks on the bottom cut your feet. You slip and fall to your knees. You lean back trying to submerge the thing underneath the waters, but it won't drown, it won't drown, it won't drown. You splash frantically, plunging your head beneath the water. The current takes you downstream. You try swimming to the shore, but it's no use. Water fills your mouth and nostrils. After a minute, you stop struggling against the current. As you gaze up at the sky, you feel it leaving your back, drifting into the sky as you sink to the bottom. As you take your last gasp, you see what was on your back staring into your eyes, but you don't even have the air in your lungs to scream. You wake in a cold sweat. Ooh. Sure it was. Wake up. Sorry you were making strange noises in your sleep. What's going on, Gregor? Did the lightning wake you up? It woke me up. I tried to fall back asleep, but it's so loud. Yeah. Let's just get back to sleep and talk about this in the morning. Everyone nods in agreement and gets back to sleep. Except for you. You can't fall back to sleep. You still have goosebumps from the nightmare. Karen's snoring is louder than a sawmill. You find it very loud and very distracting. You don't sleep a wink. Everyone is now up and awake in the cabin. You hear the front door open and quickly slam shut. Anatoly sounds petrified. I looked out the door and we're completely surrounded by floodwaters. Looks like sailors' safe warning was more appropriate for today. Maybe it'll clear up tomorrow. You can't steal big guy's optimism, Karen. Why the hell not? That's all he has going for him. He's also good at chopping wood, though. Knock it off, you two. Brian, do you think it'll clear up tomorrow? I give it a 27% chance of it clearing up tomorrow. Based on what? Bored stiff, so I read a book on local precipitation levels for the last 20 years in the living room. Sounds like you're still in Natalie's thunder. Anatoly, you're a book nerd, right? Why didn't you read it? Vic, couldn't make it past the cover. Is that right? Yes. That bookshelf has some great books on arts and crafting and natural sciences. Why let them sit there gathering dust? How did you arrive at 27% chance of it clearing up tomorrow? It's easy. Take the time of year, multiply it by a factor of. Mariah begins to explain meteorology to you. She isn't dumbing any of this down. It's similar to where. So the first thing you need to understand, minutes of explanation feel like hours. You look over at Anatoly. He's listening intently to Mariah. So intently he hasn't blinked yet. You can see his eyes drying up. A tear rolls down one of his cheeks. This is brutal to watch. Mariah finally wraps up her lecture. She ends with a bow. Nobody claps. Tough crowd. Mariah, that was awe-inspiring. You lost me a few minutes in, but it's okay. I didn't understand a word of it. Anatoly turns to you. Anyway, there's no telling how long this will last. We can't leave the cabin until these floodwaters stop. I know our food situation is a little tight, but I know you'll make the right decision. I believe in you. Me too. It looks like we have enough leftover berries for more bread and raspberry jam. I'll pass on the jam, just give me more crusty bread. Everyone laughs except for you. With everyone stranded in the cabin, you need to keep everyone fed and happy. Sneak out to the kitchen while everyone's still talking. You get out some crusty bread and get to work making some more jam. At the kitchen to yourself, you decide to check in on the trumpets. Hello. Don't worry, as leader of the trumpets, I'll make sure none of the humans know about us. That big guy would try eating me like an apple, so definitely don't tell them about us. Haha. Are your plans going awry? Got another cornbread classic for you. Did you hear about the bread maker's bakery burning down? No? Her business is now toast. That one's been done to death. Do you know how raspberry and milk were introduced? You tell her no. Raspberry milkshake. You let out an audible groan. Did cornbread teach you that one? Nope. Wasted an entire day thinking about that terrible pun. It was well worth the time and effort, Raspberry. Maybe you'll win the annual trumpet comedy competition this year. Of course. Not while I'm here. I won't choke on stage this year. Isn't that every year, Bread? We still talk about that closing line, Bread. You're going to do great this year. Anyways, don't even think of eating us if you're hungry. Trumpet sticks together through thick and thin. Rain or shine. Feast and famine. Potato, I swear to God, repeat the line or we're locking you up again. Life or death. That's right. Trumpets, move out. The trumpets somehow manage to close the drawer on themselves. You bring the crusty bread and jam into the living room. Karen interrupts as you bring in the food. Took you long enough. Looks at the 2 slices of bread left in the mason jar of raspberry jam. There's mold on these last 2 slices of bread. Karen is right. What the hell is the matter with you? You grip the knife tightly in your hand. You think this is enough for 5 of us? Wait, we can't throw this bread away. It's all we have left. Gregor's right. And Natalie. Anatoly. Will mold spores give us food poisoning? I'm no scientist, sorry. Let's pick off as much mold as we can. We can't leave with the floodwaters, so this will have to last us another day. Everyone grimly nods, ripping apart their piece like a pack of wolves. Gregor seems to unhinge his jaw and eat it in one bite. He looks like a duck eating bread. Thanks again. Bread and jam isn't much of a meal, but it's more than we had when we left Ukraine. Plenty of rainwater outside, so at least we won't die of dehydration. But until this storm is over, nobody should leave the cabin. It should clear up if we just give it a chance. Anatoly, where are you getting that information from? One of the books on the bookshelf about the climate here. You're illiterate, so that definitely is a lie. I've seen him reading. Little guy's been studying. I'm serious, he pretends to read those books because he wants us to think that he's smart. But I can tell he's just staring at the page, faking it. What do you think? I think I'm going to save. You're funny. I keep pretending with those books then, Natalie. Brutal, Karen. I found an old picture book in the living room of Natalie. Let me know if you want it, small fry. Karen. Karen smiles at you. I guess let's call it a day. Yeah, sure. Everyone shuffles off to their sleeping areas. 6 minutes later. I'm glad you called out Natalie's bluff. You continue to impress. It's a shame Anatoly is sleeping in the same bedroom. Should have never let him be the one to share with me. But what if it was just me and you? I'm sure we could study and squeeze a few novels in before bed. You nod. Well, we'll have to see if we can kick him out at some point, right? Oh, you'll have to tell me about that anatomization book on the bookshelf. Really cool pictures in there. Karen looks like she has a crush on you. Let me know if you're ever free for a lesson, okay? Karen walks away looking very happy. You are definitely sure Karen will remember that. You get ready for bed and put a blanket on. You go to sleep very hungry. I imagine so. You don't dream the entire night, but you sleep through everyone waking up. And that's how fast the deer could run if startled. Whoa. Incredible. Impressive. I wish we had a deer here. With the food getting lower, let's just skip today's meal. No. It's only for one day. Various cultures and religions practice fasting throughout history. That doesn't make us feel any better, Anatoly. What options do we have? Our food wasn't rationed properly. Anatoly leaves mumbling to himself, so passive-aggressive of him. Everyone goes to a separate area. Karen in the bedroom, Gregor in the living room, Mariah in the kitchen, and Anatoly in the bathroom. Who do you want to speak to? Looks like she's just slicing away at a block of wood. Hey, can I let you in on a secret? I've actually enjoyed your cooking so far. The others expect me to be rude and mean, so I have to keep that reputation up, right? Can't have anyone thinking I'm soft. You're not sure where this is coming from. Promise me you'll give me some cooking lessons soon, okay? She's not ready yet, but you nod politely. Thank you. You're definitely sure Karen will remember that. Wasn't that my knife? You leave Karen by herself. Everyone looks pretty down this evening. Wish the rain would just stop. You're all doing great. We must be almost at the end of this nightmare. I'm so hungry. Me too. You are too. You wish everyone a good night and get ready for bed. You go to bed with a growling stomach. You have a strange dream. A boy is yelling at you in the kitchen. You keep telling him to lie down on the tray, but he keeps shaking his head calling you names. So you do it. You lie down on the tray and make your body as flat as a board. Show him how it's done. His anger turns to courage. And he pushes you into the oven. As the stench of burning hair fills your lungs, you see him sneering back at you. You wake in a cold sweat. Everyone seems to be sleeping in later than normal. Their stomachs must have kept them all awake at night. The rain is still pouring outside. You can barely make out the trees from the windows. You hear a stirring of blankets, arms, and legs. Mariah looks petrified. I couldn't sleep. Anatoly has bags under his eyes. The storm is too loud. Karen looks out of it. The cabin was creaking so much last night. It sounded alive. Gregor looks a little gaunt. I got a good look out the window and couldn't see anything due to the rain. Great observation, Gregor. I was so hungry last night. Kept pacing around my bed. Karen turns to you. When is this going to end? Checked outside the door again. Floodwaters keep rising. Unfortunately, we're going to need to stay put unless one of us wants to drown in rainwater. As soon as the weather lets up, we'll be able to scavenge for supplies. How close is the nearest town? I don't know. Didn't you have a map on you? I think I dropped it while we were running after Gregor. I'm sure it'll show up eventually. Mariah and Anatoly go white as a sheet. How are we going to find our way back now? Well, we'll have to ride out the storm. Mariah looks at you. We're down to our last slice of bread. I don't know how much longer we can put off eating. The group stares at you. It will clear up in no time. Maybe you're right. The group looks worried. They all gravitate to an area. You can tell Gregor's putting on a fake optimism. Mariah's having trouble. Which one do you want to speak with today? Brr, it's cold as hell over here. Surprised Gregor isn't freezing to death at night. How does he do it? Explain to Mariah how the size of a person and fat content determine how warm they are naturally. Yeah, wish I was as big as Gregor. But to be honest, I don't need to be that tall to make a difference in the world. Do you know what he wanted to do for a career? Mariah does her best Gregor impression. Split firewood and gaze at the stars. How boring is that? Depends on that person, but pretty boring. You're so funny. Thanks for coming in and chatting with me. Mariah blushes a little. You make it easier to pass the time. Thank you. Pretty sure Mariah will remember that. You thank her and leave the bedroom. Call everyone together. They all look green. You cut the tension in the room with a knife. Everyone is staring at you. They're expecting that last piece of bread for dinner. You bring it out. Everyone cannot take their eyes off of it. You instruct everyone to take a pinch. And slowly all 5 of you tear it apart like a wishbone. Everyone studies their piece and bread carefully. wondering how long it will last. Karen is the first to eat hers. She chews each bite a few hundred times before swallowing. Anatoly chews it cautiously, opening his mouth once he finishes each bite. Mariah nibbles on it silently, eyes wide, moving from person to person. And Gregor just pops it in his mouth like a cherry. It was gone in an instant. The group thanks you awkwardly. It's not much, but you've run out of options. You wish everyone good night and get ready for bed. Go to bed starving. Good morning. Morning. Let me check if the rain has stopped. No, it hasn't. It's still flooding. What are we going to do? Humans can live about 2 to 3 weeks without food. Water isn't a concern. Rainfall should end in a day or two, right? Actually, precipitation can occur more than 215 days a year here. But do you really think it will rain that long? Anatoly, it's been days already. What makes you think it will stop soon? Vic, relax everyone. Let's see how long we can ride this out. Fingers crossed it's done by tomorrow. Panic is slowly creeping in. Everyone's looking scared, but you need to survive. Karen and Gregor begin to discuss next options. Do you want to speak with Mariah in the kitchen or Anatoly in the living room? Think instead about everything you've done wrong and now you've doomed everyone. Oh no, why is that an option? Let's speak with Mariah, I guess. Instead of that other awful option. Hey, Mariah looks relieved to see you. How are you holding up? Better question. How are you holding up? Not very good. That's very sweet of you to ask. Mariah's looking at you intently. She gets a little closer to you. I noticed you didn't use any meat when cooking. Usually, I have to pick it out of the foods that others make. But you respected that. Thank you. Mariah's looking at you with admiration. I need to speak with Gregor for a minute, but thanks again. You're definitely sure Mariah will remember that. You decide to check out the drawer again. You ask Potato where the others are. They'll be back. They wanted to explore the labyrinth of tunnels around the cabin. Surely you've seen the mouse holes, right? They connect all over the cabin. Must have been some mouse that created them or something worse. Anyways, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Things are going to get worse from here on out. You have a feeling Potato is telling the truth. You realize some drool is leaking out of your mouth. Disgusting. Don't even try to eat me. You just get deathly sick if you try. And from the look of you, you need to retain all the water you can. From rationing to cooking, you failed every common sense measure for basic survival this week. You knew something like this would happen, right? Never mind. With floodwaters rising and no food now, I think it'd be a great time to go over the fundamentals fundamentals of starvation with you. When experiencing starvation, there are 4 factors that will determine if you live or die: age, height, weight, and your degree of activity or inactivity. You've been especially lazy, so I think you'll survive a little longer than the others. The Harris-Benedict equation can help you figure out how many calories you need to simply maintain your current weight. The equation produces a number called the basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Stay with me here. BMR equals 655 plus 4.35 times weight in pounds plus 4.7 times height in inches minus 4.7 times age in years. Got it? For fun, let's try it out on someone here. Mariah. Using Harris-Benedict's, she looks like she's 120 pounds, about 5 feet, 5 inches tall, about 20 years old. Crunching the numbers, I think she'd need about 1,388 calories daily. But that's being abnormally stationary. She'd have to lay in bed all day and night just eating, breathing, and using the brain. Not very common when you're starving to death. People tend to get up more. If she was being very active, let's say swimming through floodwaters, we'd need to multiply that by that 1,388 calories by 1.9. So now she needs 2,638 calories per day. That's quite the difference, especially if you didn't ration the food properly, which you didn't. I guess that wraps up our first survival lesson. Hopefully, we'll never have to speak again. Okay, you shut the drawer going over the numbers. Quite the conversation, Potato. I don't think any of us can take this much longer. Gregor's voice starts to crack. I don't want to ask this, but it's time. One of us needs to go outside and search for food. Everyone is silent. I'll go. Mariah. I used to swim all the time near my house, so I probably have the best chance to swim through the floodwaters. No, let me go instead. You won't get very far if anything happens to your glasses, Anatoly. You're blind as a mole rat, remember? That's true, but... Little guy, let me go. Gregor, sounds good to me. Karen, his arms are definitely the longest, so he's probably the best at climbing trees out of all of us. No, that wouldn't be right, Gregor. Let me go instead. I get that none of these options are good ones, but we need to find food or help. Gregor grabs a branch from the wood pile. He cuts it into different measurements. Since we can't come to a consensus, let's draw for it. We'll each pick one from my hand, and the shortest will go outside to search for food. You're not worried about drawing. You saw Gregor cut the branch lengths, so you can tell which is the biggest one of the bunch. You pick it. You watch the others intently. Will it be Gregor? Anatoly? Karen? Will it be... Looks like I've got the shortest. Mariah, it's okay. I watched Anatoly forage earlier, so I'll know what to look out for. Just swim until you find higher ground, then scout the area. Maybe you'll find a fish out there. Everyone looks heartbroken. Karen, Anatoly, and Gregor. I'll keep us alive. I promise. She promised. Everyone watches Mariah as Mariah leaves the cabin. The silence is deafening. Goodbye. The door shuts behind her. You can faintly hear her yell about how cold the water is, and then silence. Mariah has left the cabin. I'm sure we'll see her again. The rest of the group nods. Everyone stays up waiting and waiting. The sun is completely set. One by one, each person quietly shovels off to bed. You get ready for bed and easily pass out. You have a strange dream. The 2 women in front of you could be twins. One of them you recognize, the other is a guest. You ask the guest to sit on a shovel, and then you try pushing it into the oven. Her legs are so strong you can't get her into the oven. You curse at her repeatedly. Like this, you hiss. You stretch out your legs until your toes are almost sticking in the coals. You feel 4 hands on your shoulders, and both of them push you in. The familiar smell of smoke and burning hair causes you to throw up on the embers. You can't let it end like this. You rip the metal door off the oven, tearing through the wood logs of the cabin. Screaming, you chase the two through the woods. Your burns chill with the wind. The guest looks behind her, and her eyes widen when she sees you. She's terrified. Your fury rips trees out by their roots, soil from the ground, rocks from their pits. You've never been this angry in your entire life. Their stamina can't last forever. You're gaining on them. As you trample through a field of wheat, the guest throws a piece of cloth behind her. You catch the glint of it in the sun, golden. As if by magic, the earth splits in front of you, creating a chasm of fire below. You fall into the pit, screaming as your eyes begin to sizzle from the heat. Hellfire fills your lungs. You're unable to scream anymore. You wake in a cold sweat. Well, excuse me. That was quite a flash of an image. Good morning. Do you think she made it to higher ground? I believe in Mariah. Me too. She'll be fine. Right, little guy? So what do we do now? Just wait? Karen, how long? It's been almost a day since she left. Anatoly and Gregor look nervous. Someone needs to go look for her. We need to wait, Karen. Wait for what? The nearest town is miles and miles away. Waiting is all we can do for now. So it could be days before she gets back. What are we supposed to eat, mice? Karen, I'm sure Anatoly will agree, but we'll discuss next options when we get to it. Every waking thought is about food now. I never should have eaten that much. Karen's hands are involuntarily shaking. Gregor and Anatoly just nod in agreement. They don't even need her to elaborate. You're sure Mariah will make it back? She promised. Everyone retreats to their areas. Wow, Karen looked angry. What do you want to do today? I guess I'll go talk with Karen. Hey, you don't have to lie to me. I know Mariah's not coming back. I don't know where she came up with her being the best swimmer. I guess the only one that would know would be Anatoly. Last summer, Anatoly would watch her swim from the shore. He could have been a lifeguard, such a good swimmer. She never went under, but if she did, he would have pulled her out easily. Why would she lie about something like that? Karen seems deep in thought. Maybe it's better to leave her alone. Close the door softly. I can't stop thinking about that vegetable stew. I'd be fine with the bread and jam. I'd be fine with just the strawberries. Nobody else laughs. I would kill for some vegetables right about now. You would too. I'm going to try to get some sleep. Good night. Night. You fall asleep quickly, but only dream about desecrating a corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. In a completely different room. Good morning. Karen's looking worse. Will you cook for the group today? You take out a cutlet of meat and begin to cook it in the oven. You cooked meat. Where did you get that? You ignore Karen's question. What's that smell? Gregor finally gets off the couch. Where did you... The three are looking at you, salivating. You take the charred meat out of the oven, cutting into small cutlets. They immediately grab some off the plate, chewing ferociously. You take a piece and immediately devour it. Do you have any more of this? You explain how the meat is stored securely, hidden, so you can ration better this time. I understand. Thank you. Anatoly runs to the bathroom, puking in the toilet. You can hear him sobbing for a few minutes. This taste is... Gregor wanders off. Anatoly returns, looking choked up. I was too weak. Left you some of the meat. Don't fight this, Anatoly. Anatoly takes a cutlet from the plate, turning his back to the group as he devours it. You can hear him crying. Finally, my focus is coming back. Going to read some of those books. Keep them occupied, okay? Karen leaves you with the men. Who do you want to talk to? Knock on the door first. Anatoly, you slowly open the door. Thanks for checking in on me. You ask if he still feels sick. Not anymore. I think it was a mental thing. Please don't tell me where the meat came from. The less known, the better. You nod. Thank you. You're sure Anatoly will remember that? Sure you will. You leave Anatoly and go tidy up some parts of the kitchen. Hours passed. The meal gave everyone the perseverance to keep going. Eating will just make them hungrier. They're fine now, but soon they'll be begging for more. We've waited long enough. What's for dinner? Calmly explain that you want to ration the meat better this time, and there will be no dinner. Fine. I understand. I guess I'd rather eat tomorrow than more today. No arguments, perfect. Everyone decides to call it an early night. You fall asleep instantly tonight. You have a strange dream. You're having dinner with the blacksmith, but he's not touching his food. The only light in the room comes from the oven. He clears his throat, stroking his beard. I can forge anything, he says. Your eye has been giving you issues lately, so you reply. Forge me a new eye, then. You laugh. But then the ropes come out. He ties you to your chair with a long rope to wrench you from struggling. You rip the rope apart without even trying, so the blacksmith uses a thicker rope. No turning back now. He takes a hot poker out of the coals. Holding it in front of his face, you can see his beard and eyes watching you. He slowly brings it back to the poker, aiming carefully for your eye, before plunging it through your skull with a sickening crunch. The force of the blow throws you backwards a few feet. You're unable to break the ropes. You vomit all over your chest. As the smell of your decimated eye floods your nostrils, the blacksmith stands over you, spitting on your body. You wake in a cold sweat. You wake up to see Gregor looking out the window. He turns to you, not smiling. Take a look out the window. Do you notice anything? The floodwaters have receded a little bit, but everyone is still bound to the cabin. The trail used to be completely visible. It's gone now. Good morning, big guy. Will Mariah make it back? This might sound a little crazy, but every night around 2 a.m. I can hear her outside. She makes this awful gurgling noise, like she's trying to get water out of her lungs. Have you heard her, Gregor? Sometimes when the rain gets faint, I think I can hear her whispering. I haven't heard anything like that. When she's whispering, it's like she's trying to tell you something, right? Yes. Oh, that's not a pretty face. I sometimes hear her crying through the radio, but that's just a broadcast, right? I think we should have another piece of meat for breakfast. Oh, one step closer to Mariah. It's what she would have wanted. What's gotten into you, Anatoly? Anatoly's eyes look at you begging. Bring us another slab. Please. He clearly doesn't have the stomach for it. I can't get the taste out of my mouth. Please help me. Anatoly. Gregor looks pained at Anatoly's words. I think he's right. Please bring us more of that meat. Grab some of the meat from your secret hiding place. You cut it into squares, adding it to the boiling cauldron water. It will taste bland without any seasoning, but you need to serve it up right away. What's taking so long? Boil it faster. It looks almost done, Patience. It's finally finished. You serve the meat in bowls. Gregor drinks the broth first before swallowing the chunks whole, like a duck does when eating bread. Anatoly creates ripples in the broth using the spoon he isn't eating. Sorry about earlier, everyone. I don't know what overtook me. Mariah. Anatoly begins to weep. You look over at Karen. You didn't notice her even start to eat. There's just an empty bowl now. Karen is staring right at you. How much more meat is left? You explain how most of it has gone bad. This is the last of it. How could you be so careless again? You remember Karen's knife. You need to think fast. What the hell are we supposed to do now? Wait around again? The storm isn't ending. You clear your throat. Anatoly. Yes? I think tomorrow you should look for Mariah. Or forage for plants outside. I think you should go tomorrow, little guy. Nobody else can identify edible plants like you. Please, Anatoly. You can swim back after a few hours. Gregor is right, Anatoly. Maybe you'll find Mariah out there. I think Mariah's fine by herself. He still hasn't accepted what happened yet. She doesn't need anyone's help. But we need your help, Anatoly. That's right, Anatoly. Please help us. Let me sleep on it, okay? No problem, little guy. Everyone shuffles off to their rooms, reading books and knitting to pass the time. You go to bed ravenous. Ooh, Mariah. Something is approaching. Hey! Don't be a crybaby, it's just me, Onion. Not going to be very sweet today. I'm worried about Natalie. She's going to cave to peer pressure. Can you stop him from leaving the cabin? You don't answer, Onion. Please. Don't you trust me? You shake your head. Got a fun factoid for you. Did you know that leaving out an unpeeled onion in your room absorbs bacteria? Will help prevent colds and ward off viruses. That was a lie. The fun factoid of that myth, people actually believed it in the 1500s. How embarrassing. Who would believe that? There even was a doctor in 1919 who caused a surge of people believing it. Anyways, you know what smells like a raw onion left in the room? You! It's rude. That is rude, onion. It's been a while since your last bath, right? You can't remember? Could smell you before I even came into the room.
Onion!
Yikes. So can you stop Anatoly from leaving? I know he has cabin fever, but this is ridiculous. It will be impossible to stop a grown man from leaving.
Onion!
Please. We don't need another one stalking the hallways, tapping on the windows, crying through the radio. You have the sudden urge to scream. Why do you think I've been using the mouse holes to get around?
Onion!
Scared to death that I'll run into her. Don't make me tattle to Cabbage about you. She can be as mean as Potato if you get on her bad side.
Onion! Onion!
Just kidding, she's great. Anyways, when the time comes, just tell Anatoly you care about him and don't want him to leave. Even if it's for me, okay? You can trust me. Now, if you excuse me, I need to work on some new ice skates. They are made of butter slices, so I'll get to skate around the frying pan tomorrow.
Onion!
Later. Are you planning to cook yourself? Your mind finally manages to forget everything that happened. Fall asleep again, still ravenous. You have a strange dream. Fox is collecting payment in your living room. You despise him, so you put 2 dogs at the bottom of a sack, then add 6 chickens on top. The fox smiles at you and leaves. At some point in his journey, the fox will eventually open the sack, and the dogs tear the fox in half. Filled with such loathing for the fox, you gave him the only things you had for food, all of those chickens. As the snow piles up outside, you begin to eat whatever you can find. Pillowcases, candles, leather. One day you wake up and you have nothing left to eat. Absolutely nothing. Just an insatiable hunger. A few days later you go mad and leave the cabin completely ravenous. A nearby tree looks like charred meat. Your iron teeth cut through the tree bark, tearing your gums apart by the splinters. Your mouth fills quickly with blood. Days later a deer gallops by. The first creature in the woods to see your corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. Something smells terrible in the living room. Someone puked in a corner. Wipe it up with a rag to save them their embarrassment. Good morning. Good morning, little guy. Well, Anatoly, what's your decision? I barely slept last night. Her whispers came through one of the holes in the floor. She kept telling me to come outside. We don't want to rush you, but one of us puked last night. So that's what that smell was? Anatoly, my patience is wearing thin. You have 1 hour to make a decision. Why? Why so quickly? Because I'm not waiting any longer. Ooh. Karen. You can see the glint of Karen's knife under her dress. Best to watch out for that knife. The group disperses. Tensions seem to be rising. You have 1 hour to kill. What do you want to do? Hi. Keep this between us. I'm not giving Anatoly a choice today. He's going outside. Do I make myself clear? Good. Thank you for understanding. Karen cracked a smile. It looks like Karen will remember that. Now, get everyone together for a meeting, and let's get him to leave. Call everyone together to discuss the next steps. Okay. Let's stop that recording.